Hey people, I'm Thomas Ullman, aka MrWartburg, and this is the MrWartburg Show, episode number 6. Today we're talking about Netflix, and more specifically, shows you should be watching on it, because it's a new month, which means new things arriving and more things leaving. And now that it's the beginning of September, if you haven't watched Person of Interest yet, you should definitely get on that, because as of September 1st, Person of Interest, seasons 1 through 3, are now on Netflix, with season 4 coming on September 22nd, if memory serves for the release date. That's a show you should definitely watch. It is one of the more modern-day setting type sci-fi shows that's just incredibly freaking cool. Definitely worth a watch. But as I haven't fully finished it, it is not going to show up on my top 10 to watch on Netflix right now list. Mostly because I haven't finished it. The other ones that I have on this list, I have finished or am caught up with their current runs through what they're broadcasting. Now, some caveats for this list. There are no movies, of course. It's TV shows. That's the point. But I don't want to get somebody bitching about how I didn't put a movie on there. If you want to talking about movies, we can do that in the comments, but it's not going to be in this video. I'm going to make a separate video for Netflix video, which or videos on Netflix video, I guess, that I will put up at a later date. So let's get started. Number 10 is one that is a really long-winded show, mostly because it's going into its 11th season on a pretty small network in the CW, and that is, of course, Supernatural. It's one of my all-time favorite TV shows already, mostly because it's just friggin' awesome. I mean, it's two brothers who drive around in a classic car, a 67 badass Impala, and they kill monsters set to classic rock. What's not to love? Now, personally, I do like seasons 1 through 5 a hell of a lot more, and most fans do, just because it was the original creator's story and everything he had mapped out pretty much was in that section of the show, which does make it a little more cohesive and better. But the last 3 seasons, 8 and on, with Jeremy Carver coming on for showrunner, were fantastic. And there's still some great episodes in seasons 6 and 7, particularly The French Mistake, maybe one of the all-time greatest TV episodes of any show ever, just because of how amazingly meta it was, while still staying serious in its to the lore and everything around the show. It didn't break the fourth wall, it just kind of tapped it perfectly multiple times. Number 9 on the list. Wait, what do I have in here? Sorry, I'm going off my notebook here. I don't trust myself to remember 10 episodes in a row. Who the hell can do that? I'm not a genius. Number 9. Oh, yeah. The one I'm watching currently right now. I'm 3 episodes from the finale, and that's Farscape. Now, the only problem with Farscape being on this list is the finale is not on Netflix. The Peacekeeper Wars were a fan-made production, which is really freaking cool that it was made, but they're not on Netflix because of some rights issues and things like that. Seasons 1 through 4, though, are on Netflix. Totally worth your time to watch. In a time where we just had Star Trek, and right before Battlestar Galactica got started, it was one of the coolest sci-fi shows on TV, and still is. Obviously, it doesn't hold up as well, because, it was made in 4.3, some lower budget issues, but it's still some really well-written sci-fi, something that's definitely worth your time, especially if you're a fan of sci-fi and have never watched Farscape. Go watch it while it's still on Netflix. Number 8 is one that is still currently, on TV. That's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. What's really cool with what they did with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was Season 2, they actually put on Netflix a month after the show was finished airing its Season 2 run, which is pretty damn early for TV, 3 months ahead of its competitors. Arrow Season 3 is still not on Netflix as of time of recording, and they haven't even announced when it's going to be there. Usually it's a week or 2 before the show starts, but they haven't said anything this year, which is kind of weird. And last year was a very similar limbo. Season 1 of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., man, I just butchered that. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Are a lot, I don't know, it's slower, it's not as well written as Season 2, mostly because it was kind of that ensemble show that took a long time to get its feet under it and figure out where it's going to be in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And Season 2 is so much better. It is a totally different show, and maybe rivals for comic book TV shows like Season 2 of Arrow in terms of how goddamn good it was. And it kind of holds true to the format of Season 2 of a show is usually its best show. Is because the writers have found their footing, they haven't been poached to other shows, they're still working on, the plot lines that they want to, and everything's kind of coming to fruition. Season 3 and on, things can get kind of disjointed, as in the case in my number 7 show with Arrow. Season 3, not on Netflix yet, Seasons 1 and 2 are. Season 3, the writers left to go on Flash, and they kind of, or were trying to change gears as they finished their Season 1 and 2 story arc, and it just didn't mesh as well. Not terrible, I've seen way worse shows, but Season 3 was not as good. But Season 2, which is on Netflix, holy goddamn shit was that good. My buddy, huge DC comic book fans, he had never watched Arrow. I finally convinced him to watch it on Netflix, and he texted me out of the blue, oh my god, this is amazing. Deathstroke is the best. And it's because Manu Bennett is amazing as Deathstroke. Him alone, worth your watch for Arrow Season 2, and by extension Flash Season 1 when it comes out, even though right now it is currently not, again, pending actual announcements for release date. Moving on to number 6 for my trusty notebook, that would be Fringe, right? Fringe, yes. Great sci-fi show. Again, there's a lot of sci-fi. I'm a sci-fi guy. Sorry, sue me. Seasons 1 through 5 of Fringe, really cool, kind of inventive, multiple reality type sci-fi show, and they actually like carry that for like 3 seasons, basically 3.5 almost, of like actual having multiple realities and multiple story arcs in 2 different realities, which is pretty freaking cool. Not to mention Walter Bishop is amazing. John Noble did a hell of a job as that character. One of my all-time favorite characters in sci-fi, no doubt. Number 5 on my list would be right here. That's Red vs. Blue, mostly because seasons 1 through 5 are the only ones available, which is why it's so low on the list. If all of them were available on Netflix, it'd be higher. They're from Rooster Teeth, which is it's Red vs. Blue being like the longest running web series on the internet. If you haven't ever watched it, you're a terrible human being. And what are you doing on the internet watching this video if you have not seen Red vs. Blue? Go fix your life. Number 4 on my list is one I don't actually have a prop for, which is the rest of my top 5 do, which kind of sucks. Oh, no, wait. 1 does not. 2 doesn't, sorry. We'll get to that one later. Mostly because I want to get the pineapple, because it was a great show. But Psyche was totally one of my favorite shows of all time. Not even the fact that it's on Netflix. Even if it wasn't, still one of my all-time favorite shows. Some just great humor in the show from the 2 leads, Sean and Gus, and Juliet, and everybody else in the show. Also, gotta be one of the top 2 or 3 shows for GIFs on the internet, or GIFs, whatever you want to say. I usually say GIF, but just because of people, I'll say GIF right now. Just the sheer amount of them on the internet is staggering. It's up there with Supernatural in terms of its content on the internet, which can kind of speak to its following, because it had a huge following on USA. And it was an all-around great show. Definitely worth your time. Number 3, I have my prop right here. It's the replica of Malcolm Reynolds' gun. That'd be Firefly. The brevity of the show, only 13 episodes on Netflix, or was it 14 on Netflix? Can't remember if they all got on Netflix or not. I'll have to look later. But the brevity of the show, again, with why I put Red vs. Blue a little lower, is because there's only 1 season of it. Like, it's not one you can watch like for months on end before you finish, unless you really space it out. The first season was fantastic, and the potential for the universe was so goddamn cool. Not to mention so many great actors were in it, and it was Joss Whedon's production, the whole 9 yards, and the setting, and the lore, and everything was fantastic. But it only got 1 season, which is why it's only number 3 on my list. The 2 above it did have fuller runs. Number 2, the one that I mentioned I might have a prop for, then I didn't, my bad, is Nikita. Had a 4-season run. Sadly, only 3 seasons were actually full seasons. The 4th season was one that they were actually given a 6-episode run to kind of tie up their loose ends, which is why I really do like the CW as a network, mostly because their president, I can't remember his name for the life of me right now, has said that their shows, they're not just going to cancel shows. You'll get to finish the show that, in the way you want to finish it. Maybe not perfectly, but you'll get to finish it as a showrunner, as a writer, a creator, all that kind of stuff. And they gave a show that didn't really do very good in the ratings, even for CW, a 6-episode finale. And they're all on Netflix. It is one of the coolest action shows I have ever watched. Consistent, great choreography in its fighting. It had a lot of spy-fi tropes. It's a little more serious than what is number 1 on my list, but it honestly reminded me a lot of Mission Impossible, like with the more recent 2 or 3 videos, or films from them, I guess, in that they're just go nuts with the spy stuff and make it cool tech, but don't take it too seriously, but don't also be like kind of like Chuck, which is why it's kind of more called spy-fi, I guess. But it was a great example of that, and only 4 seasons, unfortunately. But they're all on Netflix, which is really, really cool that it got that 4th season, and it was awesome. Now, number 1 on my list is not only number 1 because it's on Netflix, but because it's actually my number 1 show, maybe my number 1 entertainment property of all time, and that would be Chuck, this guy right here. It had 5 seasons on NBC, and was a cult hit now, and also a fairly decent ratings hit for NBC at the time, just because their network is kind of a joke, and was consistently like the best nerd show on TV, and still I think is in the history of like those kind of shows that like celebrate the nerd culture and stuff like that, because Chuck is a huge nerd in the show. Also one of the best spies in the world, which is awesome, mostly because of the Intersect. They did a lot of cool stuff with spy tropes and science fiction tropes and things like that. Had amazing guest stars. It's just an all-around amazing show that got a full run, which I thought they were going to end it after season 4. You know, it was consistently on the bubble of, is it going to make it, is it not? They had campaigns with Subway to save this show, and then the way they worked their advertising in the show was so goddamn good. Like, they had Big Mike, one of the characters, just, like, talk about how amazing his sub sandwich was, and it fit the character perfectly that he was doing that, and it got them ad revenue, which saved the show. Or, like, when they had the Toyota van, I think it was a Toyota, and the characters are in the van, and they're like, man, this thing is really spacious for spy work. And then they, like, go through all the features and why it's cool. It's like, and they made it funny without, like, going over the top. Like, you watch, like, Arrow or something on the CW, you know, you're going to see, like, Microsoft Surfaces everywhere. Which Arrow does a good job of, like, making it necessary that it's part of the plot, you know, because, like, she's actually using the device and all that kind of stuff. But other shows, it's just, like, blatant product placement, and they don't acknowledge that it is. I love that Chuck did that. Chuck did a lot of very cool things and did a lot of right things, which is why it's one of my favorite shows of all time. And if you have not watched Chuck, much like I said about RVB, fix your life, go watch it. But that's my list. Those are my top 10 favorite shows, and there are a lot more I could have chose, you know, things like Futurama, things like Continuum, shows like that I could have put on here, maybe throw in Archer, stuff like that are all on Netflix. They're all totally worth your time, but didn't crack my top 10. They're all around there, though. And I'm not a guy who generally likes to judge, you know, create these kind of lists. I like lists, but they're all fantastic. Like, there's no real hierarchy of, oh, I want to guarantee that one's better than that one. It's just what I'm enjoying at a given time. Say, when I'm recording a video. So what do you think of the list? Things I should check out on Netflix? Things I totally forgot about or that I maybe have on my watch list? Let me know below. And if you get any other questions, comments, or concerns, or scathing indictments. I love that word. Scathing indictments is so much fun. Let me know below. And as always, like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. I'll keep that part in the edit. I'll keep the part.
Hey, Tom!
What?
I have a fuel rod!
You dick.
Team Joey wins!